Your mind is your most valuable asset. It's the control center of your entire life. Everything you do, how you work, how you speak, how you make decisions, flows from the thoughts you hold and the beliefs you cultivate. And like any valuable asset, it needs to be cared for, protected, and most importantly, fed with intention, Imagine for a moment your mind as a garden. Now, what grows in that garden depends entirely on what you plant. If you plant seeds of negativity, seeds of doubt, seeds of fear, guess what you're going to grow? A jungle of confusion, a field of excuses. But if you plant seeds of wisdom, seeds of truth, seeds of discipline, and seeds of vision, you begin to harvest strength, confidence, and clarity. That's how life works. The harvest is always determined by the seed. Most people don't realize this. They let the world plant seeds in their minds without any filter. They watch whatever is trending. They scroll through social media endlessly. They listen to gossip. They consume negative news, toxic conversations, and empty entertainment. They don't realize that each of those things is a seed. Every thought you allow in is planting something. It's either helping you grow or it's keeping you stuck. It's either sharpening your focus or dulling your purpose. So the question is not whether your mind is being fed. The question is, what are you feeding it? If you want to train your mind for success, you have to start feeding it with purposeful information every single day. You must take full responsibility for the thoughts you entertain and the ideas you allow to shape your perspective. No more leaving your mental diet up to chance. You can't expect to grow a powerful mind with mental junk food. It doesn't work that way. Success leaves clues, and one of the most consistent clues left by successful people is their obsession with learning. They are always reading, always listening, always surrounding themselves with ideas that stretch them, challenge them, and elevate their thinking. They don't leave their mindset to the environment. They create the environment that supports the mindset. They understand that success isn't just about doing more, it's about thinking better because better thoughts lead to better actions, and better actions lead to better results. You have to treat learning like oxygen. Not something optional, not something you get around to when you have time. No, it has to become a daily habit, a ritual, a discipline. Wake up and feed your mind before you feed your body. Open a book instead of scrolling your phone. Listen to a podcast that builds you instead of wasting time on drama. Choose ideas that serve your purpose, ideas that fuel your passion, ideas that make you stronger, wiser, and sharper. There is so much wisdom available today, books, lectures, audio programs, mentors, but most people don't use them. They'd rather be entertained than educated. They'd rather escape their problems than face them with new insight. That's the difference between growth and stagnation. One makes the hard choice to invest in mental development. The other takes the easy route and stays the same. Now feeding your mind doesn't mean only learning new things. It also means reminding yourself of the truths that matter. Repetition is a form of feeding. Just like your body needs meals every day, your mind needs mental nutrition every day. Sometimes the same message over and over again until it becomes your operating system. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your training, and training the mind starts with feeding it the right way, consistently. This is why reading good books is essential. Books contain concentrated wisdom. A person's entire lifetime of experience, research, mistakes, and discoveries can be compressed into a few hundred pages. Think about that. You could absorb in a week what someone took 40 years to learn. That's leverage, that's power, but only if you actually pick up the book and read it. Not skim it, not glance at the cover, read it, study it, digest it. But it doesn't end with books. You can feed your mind with great conversations too. Surrounding yourself with thinkers, mentors, and people who stretch your ideas can change your direction entirely. One insight, one sentence, one question from the right person can alter the way you see everything. But again, it takes intentionality. You have to seek out those conversations. You have to become a magnet for meaningful dialogue. Ask better questions. Be curious. Listen more than you speak. That's how wisdom is transferred. You also feed your mind by reflection, thinking about what you've learned, applying it, sitting with it. This is the step most people skip. They consume without contemplation, but knowledge without reflection is just noise. You have to stop and ask yourself, how does this apply to my life? What can I change based on this idea? Where have I seen this truth at work before? That's how ideas take root. That's how they transform your habits and eventually your results. And don't forget, you can also feed your mind through what you write. Writing clarifies thought. When you put your ideas on paper, you begin to organize your thinking. You begin to discover patterns. You begin to uncover the lessons hidden in your own experiences. Journaling is not just emotional therapy, it's mental training. It sharpens your focus and reminds you of what truly matters. The most powerful minds in history, thinkers, leaders, inventors, philosophers, they were all voracious learners. They took mental development seriously. They didn't feed their minds by accident. They were deliberate. They chose their influences. They built libraries. They surrounded themselves with intelligent company. They questioned everything, and most importantly, they never stopped learning. So if you're serious about success, you have to approach your mental diet with the same discipline that a professional athlete brings to his training. Consistency, focus, purpose, no wasted movements, no wasted time, no wasted energy. Every book you read, every idea you absorb, every habit you adopt, it's all part of the mental architecture you're building. And here's something to remember, your external results will never exceed your internal development. If you want to achieve more, you have to think better. If you want to lead others, you have to first lead yourself. If you want to build wealth, influence, or legacy, you must build the mindset that can handle those things. You don't get paid for what you know. You get paid for what you've become, and who you become is the result of what you consistently feed your mind. The most powerful conversations you will ever have are not with your boss, your spouse, or your friends. They are with yourself. Every day, from the moment you wake up to the moment your head hits the pillow, your mind is speaking. It's commenting, interpreting, judging, reacting. That constant dialogue shapes the quality of your life far more than you realize. The question is, what are you saying to yourself? What kind of language are you using internally? Most people have never been taught how to talk to themselves. They let their self-talk run on autopilot. And unfortunately, for many, that autopilot is negative. Doubt creeps in. Fear whispers in the background. Regret replays old scenes. Insecurity compares your life to someone else's highlight reel. If left unchecked, these voices become the dominant soundtrack of your mind. They shape your beliefs, your self-image, and ultimately your actions. But here's the truth, asterisk, asterisk, you can take control of that voice. Asterisk, asterisk, you can train your mind to speak differently, to speak with clarity, purpose, and strength. That is the foundation of building a successful mindset. Self-talk isn't about lying to yourself. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing words that align with your goals, your values, and your future, because the language you use becomes the lens through which you see your world. And if you want to change your life, you have to change the way you talk to yourself about your life. The words "I can't" or "I'm not good enough" are not just casual phrases. They are commands your brain listens to. They are instructions, and when you repeat them, even subconsciously, you program your mind to believe and act accordingly. You begin to find reasons to justify your limitations. You spot obstacles instead of opportunities. You hesitate where you should advance. That's the destructive power of negative self-talk. It becomes a self-fulfilling self-fulfilling prophecy. On the other hand, positive, empowering self-talk has the opposite effect. It builds confidence, it creates momentum, it opens your eyes to new possibilities. When you consistently say to yourself, I can figure this out, I'm growing stronger, I am responsible for my results, you reinforce the identity of a person who doesn't fold under pressure, who takes initiative, who keeps showing up even when it's hard. But don't make the mistake of thinking positive self-talk is just about motivation. It's not just a pep talk in the mirror, it's a discipline. It's a conscious choice to manage your mental environment. It's deciding over and over again that you will be the voice of reason, the voice of courage, the voice of discipline in your own mind. That's where real transformation begins. You must begin to pay attention to your internal dialogue. Catch yourself when you start spiraling into fear, comparison, or judgment. Interrupt the pattern. Replace it. If your mind says, you always mess things up, respond with, I've made mistakes, but I learn and improve. That's who I am now. If your mind says, I'll never succeed like those other people, challenge it. I have my own journey. My pace is my power. I am building something real and lasting. This is how you rewire your thoughts, not through magic, through repetition. Think about athletes preparing for competition. They don't just train their bodies, they train their minds with affirmations, visualization, and mental rehearsal. They speak with belief before the game even begins. Why? Because they know performance follows mindset, and mindset is shaped by self-talk. You don't wait for success to feel confident. You generate confidence through the words you speak into yourself day after day. Self-talk is also how you manage fear. Fear will always show up, but what you say to yourself when fear knocks is what determines your next move. You can say, this is too risky, I'm not ready. Or you can say, this is a challenge, but I grow under pressure. I've faced hard things before, and I'm still standing. One version keeps you paralyzed, the other moves you forward, and every time you choose progress over paralysis, you gain a little more strength. Another key function of self-talk is focus. The mind loves to wander. It jumps from idea to idea, problem to problem, but trained self-talk can bring it back. When you're overwhelmed, instead of saying, there's too much to do, I can't handle this, train yourself to say, one thing at a time, prioritize, execute, progress is enough. This kind of talk keeps you grounded, it calms the chaos, it gives you a sense of control, even in unpredictable environments. There's also the matter of identity. Every time you say I am, you are speaking to your identity, and identity drives behavior, so be careful what follows those words. Don't say I am lazy, or I'm just not disciplined. Even if it feels true in the moment, don't give those words power. Say instead, I am learning to be more consistent, I'm building stronger habits, I am committed to change. Speak about the person you are becoming, not the person you're trying to escape. You don't need to wait for others to believe in you. You don't need external validation. You can become your own source of encouragement, your own inner coach. That's the beauty of disciplined self-talk. It makes you mentally independent. It allows you to sustain yourself through dry seasons, through setbacks, through long stretches of quiet effort when no one else is cheering for you. Because the voice that matters most is the one inside your head. Even when you make mistakes, your self-talk matters. A mistake is not a reason to tear yourself down. It's a signal to reflect, learn, and redirect. Instead of saying, I always fail, say, that didn't work out, now I know better. This is how you build resilience. You train your mind not to collapse under failure, but to rise through it. And the more you do that, the more mentally tough you become. Some people rely on external motivation to stay driven. They need someone to push them, to inspire them. But that's temporary. Long-term success is built by those who create internal motivation, and that comes from the voice within. It's the quiet conviction that says, keep going, you're making progress, you're closer than you think. That kind of voice doesn't just appear, it's trained. Through practice, through conscious repetition, through relentless commitment to mental mastery. You'll also find that strong self-talk reinforces your standards. It reminds you who you are and what you're aiming for. When temptation shows up, when shortcuts look appealing, when old habits try to creep back in, your self-talk becomes your line of defense. It says, "That's not me anymore." It says, "I know what I want and I won't settle." It says, "Discipline today means freedom tomorrow." That voice becomes your anchor in a world full of distraction and noise. In moments of stress or pressure, your self-talk can be the difference between panic and presence. It can bring you back to clarity, back to strategy. While others react emotionally, you can respond intentionally, because your mind isn't just reacting. It's trained, it has a framework, and that framework has been built with words, carefully chosen, consistently spoken, relentlessly reinforced. Every day your mind is under attack, not in a dramatic or cinematic way, but in subtle, constant, quiet ways that most people never notice. Messages, opinions, gossip, noise, fears, and distractions all knock on the door of your consciousness. And here's the truth. Not everything that wants access to your mind deserves it. If you don't guard the gate stays open, and when the gate is open, anything can walk in, whether it's helpful or harmful. That's why one of the most important disciplines for anyone seeking success is learning to guard the gate of the mind. Think of your mind like a house, a home you've built with care, with vision, with discipline. You wouldn't let just anyone wander in and rearrange your furniture, throw dirt on your floor, or scream negativity in your living room. But mentally, that's exactly what happens when you allow every voice, every opinion, and every piece of content to take up space in your thoughts. A mind left unguarded is a mind easily influenced, easily overwhelmed, and eventually easily lost in confusion. That's not the path to success. That's the path to stagnation or worse, decline. Guarding your mind starts with *** selectivity ***. You have to become highly selective about what you consume, what you read, what you watch, who you listen to, what conversations you entertain, because everything you expose your mind to either strengthens it or weakens it. There is no neutral ground. Even the things that seem harmless, if they don't serve your purpose, become distractions, and distractions are the silent killers of dreams. They don't announce themselves with a siren. They slip in disguised as entertainment, comfort, or curiosity, but their impact is real. They fragment your focus, they dilute your drive, they replace depth with noise. One of the first places to guard is your digital environment. Social media, news feeds, endless notifications. These are the open doors most people never close. But what's coming through those doors? Is it inspiration or is it comparison? Is it truth or is it opinion? Is it clarity or is it chaos? Most people scroll unconsciously, unaware that every image, every message, every piece of content is planting a seed in their mind. And without guarding the gate, those seeds grow. They shape your emotions, your decisions, even your identity. Over time, you start to carry beliefs that aren't even yours. You start to chase goals you never chose. You start to react to life instead of responding with purpose. To guard your mind, you also have to guard your conversations ***. Not everyone deserves your ear. There are people who, whether intentionally or not, drain your energy with doubt, fear, and small thinking. They talk about people, not ideas. They focus on problems, not solutions. They complain more than they act. And if you spend enough time around that energy, it becomes yours. You start thinking like them, talking like them, and eventually behaving like them. That's how influence works. It's invisible but powerful, which is why you must choose your environment. You must protect your inner space. You don't have to be rude or cut people off completely, but you do have to create boundaries. Respectful, firm, purposeful boundaries that protect your mind from unnecessary negativity. Music, movies, and entertainment also deserve scrutiny. People often say it's just a show or it's just a song, but repetition shapes belief. Language shapes perception. Even humor, if repeated enough, can normalize things that should never be normalized. If you constantly expose your mind to messages of violence, fear, lust, and hopelessness, those messages begin to settle in. They become part of your thinking. They influence how you interpret the world. That's not paranoia. That's awareness. Awareness of how input becomes output, of how what enters the mind eventually shows up in your life. Another gate you must guard is your thought life **. Not every thought you have is true. Not every thought deserves to be entertained. Some thoughts are old habits trying to survive. Others are echoes of past criticism. Still others are fears disguised as caution. You have to become the gatekeeper who says, "Not today. That thought doesn't serve me. That belief isn't who I am anymore." This is mental discipline. It's not easy. It takes repetition, but just like physical strength is built with reps, mental strength is built with consistent thought management. You catch the lie, you correct it. You reinforce truth. You do it again and again until truth becomes your default. Guarding your mind also means protecting your schedule **. Where your time goes, your mind follows. If your calendar is filled with chaos, your thoughts will be too. Success requires space to think, to reflect, to strategize. But if your day is a blur of noise and movement with no structure, your mind becomes reactive instead of proactive. You end up chasing problems instead of creating solutions. To think clearly, you must live deliberately. That means saying no to unnecessary commitments. That means prioritizing quiet time. That means creating routines that support clarity instead of confusion. Mental clarity is not a luxury. It's a necessity for those who lead, create, and build. It's also important to understand that guarding your mind is not a one-time decision. It's a lifestyle. You don't install a fence around your house and then forget to lock the gate. You check it. You maintain it. You stay alert. The same goes for your mind. Every day, you have to make decisions that protect your focus, your peace, and your direction. That means doing regular mental inventory, asking yourself, what am I thinking about most? Who am I listening to? What's influencing me right now? These questions keep you aware. They keep you aligned with your goals. They help you recognize when something has slipped through the gate and needs to be removed. There's also a subtle danger in excessive busyness **. Sometimes the mind becomes vulnerable not because of what we let in, but because we never give it space to breathe. When you're constantly occupied, constantly stimulated, your thoughts become shallow. You lose depth, and when you lose depth, you lose vision. Your dreams start to fade, your priorities blur, your sense of purpose weakens. That's why solitude is powerful, not loneliness, solitude. Time alone with your thoughts, your goals, your values. That's where clarity returns, that's where direction is restored. But you won't find that space unless you guard it, unless you carve it out intentionally. When you guard your mind, you gain something most people never experience: peace. Not the absence of problems, but the presence of order, mental order, emotional clarity. You begin to think instead of react. You begin to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. And most importantly, you begin to build a life that reflects your values, not your environment. You stop being shaped by the noise and start becoming a person of substance, direction, and focus. To guard your mind, you must first recognize its value. You must understand that everything you want to build, wealth, health, relationships, legacy, begins with your thinking. You must believe that your mind is worth protecting, not just from external distractions, but from internal drift. And you must commit daily to being the gatekeeper of your thoughts, your influences, your beliefs, and your time. Success begins in the imagination long before it becomes visible in the real world. Before any great achievement, any remarkable turnaround, any act of discipline or courage, there is a mental picture, a vision a snapshot in the mind of what could be. The human brain has a remarkable capacity to simulate reality, to dream forward, to build blueprints in the realm of thought. What separates those who accomplish great things from those who drift through life is often this ability to visualize with clarity and consistency. You cannot move confidently toward a destination you cannot see. Vision is not just for artists or dreamers, it's for builders, leaders, doers, and thinkers. And training your mind for success means training your imagination to picture success in vivid detail over and over again. Most people allow their imagination to work against them rather than for them. They imagine worst case scenarios, they rehearse failure. They play mental movies of embarrassment, rejection, and disappointment. They don't realize that their mind is always imagining something, and that whatever you imagine frequently begins to feel real. That's the power of visualization. The mind cannot always distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is actually experienced. When you visualize success repeatedly, your nervous system begins to respond as if that success is familiar, attainable, and expected. It creates a sense of certainty. That certainty becomes the fuel for action, and action is what brings the vision to life. Visualization isn't about fantasy. It's not about wishing or pretending. It's about aligning your thoughts with your goals, about creating a mental environment where the future you want feels accessible. When you picture yourself succeed in giving the speech, building the business, finishing the project, reaching the goal, you're not escaping reality, you're reinforcing it. You're setting a target for your mind to lock onto. The more specific the picture, the more powerful the pull. Vague dreams produce vague results. Clear, detailed images create emotional momentum. You begin to see not only where you want to go, but how to get there. The process of visualization requires more than just occasional daydreaming. It's a daily practice, a ritual. You sit with your goals and mentally walk through the steps. You see the obstacles and imagine yourself overcoming them. You feel the emotions you would feel as if it were already done. You practice success in your mind so that when the opportunity comes, you're already prepared. Athletes have used this method for decades. They mentally rehearse their routines, their movements, their plays, and when the time comes to perform, they do it with fluidity and confidence because their mind has already been there. Training your mind to visualize success also builds identity. Identity is not just who you are, it's who you believe yourself to be. If you constantly imagine yourself failing, quitting, or being rejected, your identity becomes one of defeat. But if you continually visualize yourself overcoming adversity, staying disciplined, delivering under pressure, your identity becomes one of strength and capability. You start to act like the person you imagine. You start to carry yourself with more certainty, more presence, more confidence. That identity is magnetic. It draws opportunities to you because others sense that you're operating with a clear sense of who you are and where you're going. One reason many people struggle to take action is because they lack a compelling picture of the outcome. The mind resists what it cannot see. It will sabotage you with doubt and hesitation if the reward doesn't feel real. But when you visualize consistently, the reward becomes tangible. You start to feel connected to it. It becomes more than just an idea. It becomes a part of your future that you are actively shaping. That connection drives behavior. It gives you the strength to say no to distractions, to persist through setbacks, to keep showing up even when progress is invisible. The picture in your mind becomes the anchor for your efforts. To make visualization effective, it must be intentional. You must carve out time for it. You don't leave it to chance. Just like you schedule a workout for your body, you schedule a mental workout for your mind. You find a quiet space, close your eyes, and step into the future with your imagination. You see yourself performing with excellence. You hear the sounds, feel the textures, sense the emotion. You make the vision as real as possible. This is not a passive act, it's active, focused, and deliberate. Over time, your subconscious mind begins to accept the image as familiar, and your behavior starts to align with it. Visualization also helps you stay emotionally connected to your goals. It's easy to get distracted, to lose motivation, to feel disconnected from the bigger picture. But when you revisit the vision daily, you stay in touch with your purpose, you remember why you started, you re-experience the feelings of achievement, fulfillment, and progress. That emotional connection reignites your drive. It keeps you grounded when things get hard. It reminds you that success is not just about the goal, it's about who you become in the process of reaching it. Another benefit of visualization is mental preparation. Life rarely goes exactly as planned. There will be setbacks, resistance, and challenges, but when you visualize success, you also visualize adversity. You rehearse your responses. You picture yourself staying calm under pressure, adapting to change, solving problems. That mental rehearsal creates a sense of readiness. You're no longer shocked when difficulty arises. You've seen it in your mind and you know what to do. This kind of mental preparation gives you an edge. You don't waste energy panicking. You focus your energy on solutions. That's the difference between those who collapse under pressure and those who rise through it. Visualization must be supported by belief. If you visualize success but don't believe it's possible, the images will feel hollow. So belief must be built alongside the vision. That belief comes from evidence. Small wins, progress, affirmations, and a strong foundation of truth. As you take action and see results, your belief strengthens. That belief reinforces the vision. The vision then drives more action. It becomes a cycle of confidence and progress. But it all starts with what you see in your mind. You don't need to know exactly how everything will unfold. Visualization isn't about controlling every step, it's about setting a clear destination and programming your mind to move toward it. The how becomes clearer as you move. But if you don't set the vision, your energy scatters, you drift, you chase distractions, you react to life instead of creating it. Visualization gathers your energy, it directs your attention. It helps you make decisions based on where you're going, not just where you are. The habit of visualization also rewires your emotional patterns. It helps you practice success without fear. Many people fear success because they've never emotionally rehearsed it. They've only imagined what could go wrong. But when you visualize success, you become emotionally comfortable with the feeling of achievement. You stop sabotaging yourself. You stop shrinking your efforts to avoid discomfort. You welcome the challenge because you've already experienced the reward mentally. You've already claimed the victory in your imagination. Your emotions begin to support your goals instead of resisting them. That's the unseen power of consistent visualization. It changes not just how you think, but how you feel about your future. The journey to success is not always smooth, predictable, or easy. In fact, it's often filled with setbacks, rejections, frustrations, and long periods of uncertainty. That's why training your mind for resilience is not just helpful, it's essential. Without resilience, you will crumble under pressure. You will give up when the path gets steep. You will talk yourself out of your goals because the moment things don't go as planned, your emotions take control. But when you develop mental resilience, you build a foundation that can carry you through those difficult moments. You become steady when others panic. You become committed when others quit. You push forward when others turn back. Mental resilience is not something you are born with. It's something you build, and like any form of strength, it grows through stress, through repetition, through challenge. You don't learn how strong you are by avoiding hard things. You learn by facing them, by walking through them, by rising when you fall. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to become more resilient. But you only become stronger if you make the decision to keep going when it would be easier to give up. You choose the harder path, the one that builds character, discipline, and grit. Resilience begins with mindset. It starts with the way you interpret adversity. Some people see failure as a dead end. Others see it as feedback. Some people see rejection as a judgment on their worth. Others see it as redirection towards something better. It's not what happens to you, it's how you frame it. Your interpretation becomes your experience. If you tell yourself, this means I'm not good enough, your emotions will follow, you'll feel defeated. But if you tell yourself, this is a lesson, this is preparation, this is where I grow, then your emotions align with strength. You feel challenged, yes, but not crushed. You feel stretched, but not broken. One of the hallmarks of mental resilience is the ability to endure discomfort. Not just physical discomfort, but emotional and psychological discomfort. The discomfort of uncertainty, the discomfort of delayed results, the discomfort of hard decisions, long nights, and slow progress. Success demands discomfort, and resilience is what allows you to tolerate it without losing focus. Most people try to escape discomfort. They look for shortcuts, distractions, or instant gratification, but those who succeed embrace it. They learn to sit with it. They understand that pain is part of the process, and they don't let it dictate their behavior. Building mental resilience also requires a commitment to responsibility. When you take full ownership of your life, your choices, your attitude, your reactions, you gain power. Victim thinking destroys resilience. When you blame others, when you blame circumstances, when you say, I can't because, you surrender your strength. But when you say, this is hard, but I will find a way, you reclaim control. You become the author of your story instead of a character in someone else's script. Responsibility is not about guilt. It's about power. It's about recognizing that while you cannot control everything that happens to you, you can always control how you respond. Another key aspect of resilience is consistency. Not perfection, not motivation. Consistency, the ability to show up again and again, even when you don't feel like it. To do the work when it's boring, to follow through when the excitement is gone, to continue when progress is invisible. That's what separates dreamers from achievers. Anyone can start with energy, but only the resilient keep going when the honeymoon phase is over. They don't need hype to stay on course. They're driven by vision, not just emotion. They've trained their minds to act based on commitment, not convenience. Resilient people also understand the value of failure. They don't just tolerate it. They study it. They ask questions. What went wrong? What can I learn? What will I do differently next time? They treat failure like a classroom, not a courtroom. It's not a verdict on their worth. It's a lesson in their development. They know that every failure contains information, and information is valuable. It shows them what doesn't work, so they can move closer to what does. They don't fear failure because they've stripped it of its power. It no longer defines them. It refines them. To build resilience, you also need strong internal dialogue. The way you talk to yourself in hard moments matters. When you're tired, when you're discouraged, when you're tempted to quit, your inner voice becomes your greatest ally or your worst enemy. That's where mental training comes in. You develop the habit of speaking strength into yourself. You remind yourself of your purpose. You tell yourself, I've come too far to turn back now. This is just a season, not the end. I don't need it to be easy. I just need to keep going. This kind of language stabilizes you. It brings your mind back into alignment with your goals. Another layer of resilience is adaptability. The ability to shift your approach when the plan breaks down, to pivot without panicking, to try again with new information, new tactics, and renewed energy. Rigid thinking breaks under pressure. Flexible thinking bends and adjusts. Life doesn't always go according to plan, and those who survive are the ones who can evolve. Resilience is not about stubbornness. It's about persistence with wisdom. It's about refusing to quit on the goal while being willing to change the strategy. Community also plays a role in resilience. While resilience is built from within, it's supported by who you surround yourself with. When you're isolated, adversity feels heavier. But when you have people who speak truth, who challenge you, who remind you of your strength, you find the courage to keep going. It's not about needing others to rescue you. It's about knowing that you're not alone in the fight. The right environment reinforces resilience. The wrong one erodes it. So part of training your mind for success is choosing your circle wisely. Rest and recovery are also part of the equation. Resilience doesn't mean running yourself into the ground. It means knowing when to push and when to pause, knowing when to grind and when to recharge. Burnout doesn't build strength, it builds resentment. The resilient protect their energy. They create rhythms of work and rest. They understand that rest is not weakness. It's preparation. It refuels the mind. It sharpens perspective. It sustains the long game. Mental resilience grows stronger with time. Every obstacle you overcome becomes a reference point, a reminder that you've been through hard things and survived. It gives you evidence to silence doubt, to say, if I made it through that, I can make it through this. Over time, you build a library of proof, and that proof becomes part of your identity. You stop seeing yourself as fragile. You start seeing yourself as durable. You carry a quiet confidence, not because life is easy, but because you've been tested, and you've decided not to fold. Success is rarely a solo pursuit. While personal discipline, self-belief, and resilience are essential, the people you surround yourself with play a pivotal role in shaping your mindset, your ambition, and ultimately your outcomes. Your environment influences your thinking more than you realize. The conversations you engage in, the attitudes you absorb, the values you witness. These elements seep into your mind and subtly mold your decisions and direction. If you want to train your mind for success, you must be intentional about the company you keep. You must surround yourself with people who challenge you, elevate you, and hold you to a higher standard. One of the most powerful truths about growth is that it is contagious. When you're around people who are striving, improving, building, and thinking big, it awakens something in you. You begin to stretch your vision. You start raising your standards. Their energy becomes fuel for your own journey. But the opposite is just as true. If your circle is full of small-minded, negative, complacent individuals, you will find it difficult to think beyond your current limitations. Their doubts become your doubts. Their excuses sound reasonable. Their comfort zone becomes a trap that slowly closes in around your potential. Your circle should reflect your destination, not your past. Many people stay stuck because they keep investing time with those who are content with mediocrity. There's no friction, no challenge, no push to grow. But success requires tension, positive tension, the kind of tension that comes from being around others who are playing at a higher level, who read more, think deeper, work harder, and expect more from themselves. When you're around that kind of energy, it forces you to level up, not out of competition, but out of inspiration. It becomes difficult to justify laziness or excuses when your friends are waking up early, setting goals, and doing the hard work daily. Training your mind for success means choosing conversations that add value, conversations that stimulate thought, encourage accountability, and nurture discipline. Too often, we waste mental bandwidth on gossip, complaints, and distractions. Those things don't sharpen your mind, they dull it. They clutter your focus and drain your emotional energy. But when your conversations revolve around purpose, progress, ideas, and strategy, your mind stays sharp. It stays hungry. You leave those exchanges feeling empowered instead of depleted. You walk away thinking bigger instead of shrinking into doubt. Another powerful benefit of a strong, uplifting circle is perspective. When life hits hard, when doubts creep in, when the path gets foggy, the right people bring clarity. They remind you of who you are. They challenge your excuses. They speak truth when your own self-talk turns negative. Sometimes your mind needs another voice to break through the noise. Someone who says, I've been there and here's what I learned. Or, you're stronger than this moment. Or even, you're playing small and I know you can do better. That kind of honesty, delivered with belief and love, is priceless. It interrupts your spiral and recenters your focus. It's important to recognize that success-minded people are not always easy to be around. They will call you out, they will hold you accountable, they won't let you settle or play the victim, but that's exactly why they are valuable. They don't comfort your limitations, they challenge them. And while that might be uncomfortable at times, it's also necessary. Growth doesn't happen in echo chambers. It happens when your mindset is exposed to higher standards, greater discipline, and deeper levels of integrity. When you see someone else doing the work, staying focused and making progress, it shatters your excuses. It raises your bar. Not all relationships deserve equal access to your time and energy. Some people are meant to be loved from a distance, not because you're better than them, but because your goals require clarity and their presence brings confusion. It doesn't mean you're cutting people off with judgment or pride. It means you're protecting your focus with wisdom and purpose. If someone constantly drains your energy, disrespects your growth, or pulls you back into habits you've outgrown, you have to make a choice. Success demands that you prioritize your mental environment. And sometimes that means letting go of relationships that no longer align with your path. Mentorship is another layer of building a success-driven circle. You need people who are ahead of you, people who have walked the road, made the mistakes, and carry wisdom that can shorten your learning curve. A good mentor won't just give you advice. They'll ask the right questions. They'll share insights born from experience. They'll challenge your assumptions and help you see around corners. You don't have to wait for one to find you. You can seek them out through books, videos, courses, or even direct connection. The key is humility, the willingness to listen, to learn, to be teachable, but it's not just about finding the right people. It's also about becoming the right person. You attract what you are. If you want to be around disciplined, focused, visionary people, you must carry those same qualities. You must bring value to the table, elevate your own standards, invest in your mindset. Practice integrity, speak with purpose, give without keeping score. When you do that, you become a magnet for excellence. You don't chase quality people. They recognize you because you reflect what they stand for. In your circle, there should also be people who believe in you even when you struggle to believe in yourself. Not blind cheerleaders, but those who see your potential clearly, who remind you of your capabilities, not just your current results. Their belief gives your mind a foothold when your confidence slips. It becomes easier to press forward when someone else says, "I see it in you. Don't quit now. You're closer than you think." That belief doesn't replace your own mindset, but it supports it. It strengthens your mental framework in moments of doubt. Even accountability partners can dramatically impact your mental training. When someone is counting on you to follow through, your mind sharpens. You think differently when you know you'll have to report back. Accountability creates urgency. It eliminates laziness. It transforms intention into execution. And when you have someone who is not just keeping you in check, but walking beside you, pursuing their own growth, you form a bond that makes both of you stronger. Iron sharpens iron. As you grow, your circle may change. That's natural. Not everyone can go where you're going. Some will cheer from the sidelines, others will drift away, but you must stay loyal to your vision, not your comfort zone. Your future demands alignment, not just familiarity. Be kind, but be focused. Be respectful, but be discerning. Choose growth over guilt. Surround yourself with people who want to win, not just in career or status, but in character, purpose, and impact. People who are committed to rising and helping others rise with them. People who sharpen your thoughts, challenge your weakness, and celebrate your progress without jealousy. The right environment will do more for your success than talent alone ever could.